You're listening to the Living Adventures podcast, a lifestyle podcast hosted by Ashley Mielke and Victoria Vance. Tune in for a new episode every Thursday to hear our honest conversations about topics like freedom, creativity, spirituality, luxury living, health and wellness, and above all else, building community.
We have real and unfiltered conversations inspired by our search to feel connected to people who give a shit about us, support our dreams, and understand our struggles. Our mission is to provide you with the tools, guidance, and motivation to navigate any moment in your life with the lens of your neurodivergent mind, with a community who gets you. Adventure on. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Living Adventures podcast. I'm your co-host, Ashley Mielke, here for a solo episode today, which I'm so excited about. And today we are diving into intuition, how to learn how to trust yourself. What the heck does intuition mean? Signs, symbols, tools you can use to better trust yourself. I have been getting questions around intuition a lot lately. I don't know if it's the new year and people are just trying to figure out more about themselves, or if it's just like the accumulation of everything that's happened over the past few years. I know when I first entered the online space, I was just like starting to trust my intuition. Obviously, I had to trust myself a little bit to even start a business, but I was still looking to other people for guidance, for information, for what to do. And there's a stage in your life where all you want is for someone to tell you what to do next, for people to give you answers and tell you the right way and the right path. And I remember there have been times in my life where as a coach, I would say, if you're someone who is looking for someone to tell you what to do, I'm not the coach for you, because I collaborate with people to find solutions that actually work for them. And I remember I would do Instagram polls where it's like, do you want someone to tell you what to do, or do you want to make your own path? And everyone would always answer on those polls like, I just want someone to tell me what to do. And it's like this point of desperation that we get where we feel like we're not living in alignment and we know we're not happy with how our life is, but we don't know how to fix it. And so we're just constantly seeking external validation and paths for what we should be doing next. And so that's where this idea of like, just somebody tell me what to do and I'll go get it done. And as somebody who has very much lived in that mindset for a lot of running my own business and my life, that is a quick path to nowhere, my dudes. Because the minute you look to someone else to tell you what to do, you give your power away. And there have been so many instances in my life where I've given that power away and I've said, you know what, just how should I do my marketing, or how should I create my business, or what should I sell, or what's going to make me the most money? And I've run into dead ends after dead ends after dead ends. If you don't know much about me or my background, like I almost started 10 different businesses before I got certified as a life coach. That's a lot of different businesses. Blogging, social media management, influencing, consulting, almost had a drop shipping store, did Amazon. I don't know if I already said that, but there's so many different things I almost did because someone else told me it would be the best way to do things. And even whenever I started to take a little bit of my power back throughout my life and in my business and like coming up with my own ideas and my own things that I wanted to do, there were still subtle ways that I was giving my power away because I wasn't trusting myself. And I would constantly be doubting myself and running circles in my head around what I should do next and how I should do it and asking a million people for their opinions, when in reality, all I needed to do was tap into my intuition and tap into what I knew internally to be true. And the more you can practice trusting yourself, the more you can get to a place where no matter what anyone says in your life, you are going to be the internal compass that guides you. And you'll get to a place where you can take external feedback and other people's opinions and filter it through your intuition to know the exact right thing to do. And I think that is like end goal where we all want to get. And if you're just tuning into this and you're not into intuition or you're not really sure what that means, like let's dive into that first, am I right? Because I posted recently about angel numbers on my TikTok, and a lot of times when we think angel numbers, we think intuition, and we'll dive into that when I talk about signs and symbols. But I had a comment on my TikTok account, and someone was like, oh, like, do I have to activate my intuition? Like, what do I have to do to activate it? How do I tap into it? And your intuition is literally just your internal guide for how you do things. There's nothing to activate. You don't have to turn it on. I know sometimes there are meditations meditations though, where you can go into a meditation and turn up the dial of your intuition. So like set an intention to like turn it up so you listen to it better. Sometimes that can be very helpful. But you are born with your intuition, and you are born knowing exactly what you need to do in your life and feeling authentic and all of those things. And then what happens throughout our life is all of this programming and societal expectations and views and opinions start to shape how we see the world. And it also starts to shape how we doubt ourselves. So, like you could be someone who, like me, is a very free spirit, doesn't like the like corporate structure, 9 to 5, all those kinds of things. But throughout your entire life, people have been telling you, this is a path you need to go down. You need to get a job. You need to get a steady 9 to 5. You need to have a stable paycheck. And so all of a sudden, if you're someone who would rather live a more creative life, work less hours in a day, not subscribe to that kind of work-life style, you're going to start doubting yourself and you're going to diminish your intuition because someone else is telling you the right path. And so our job, if we want to live the most fulfilled life, the most balanced life, the most authentic and happy life we can, is to start to take away some of that societal programming, those rules, those expectations, and get back to what do I truly want? What do I truly need? What's going to make me happy? What's going to light me up? And I think when it comes to listening to your intuition, it's going to feel different for everyone. One of the best things that I can recommend is go check out your human design. And if you look at your human design chart, you can literally Google human design chart. And when you do it, it will show you what your internal authority is. And your internal authority is basically how you make decisions. For example, I'm a mental authority. So a lot of times I'm just going to have this like inner knowing of what I want to do. And I might have to speak it out loud to make sense of it, have people be my sounding board so I can hear what I'm saying as I'm talking about different opportunities and listen into, do I feel excited as I'm talking about this? Do I feel kind of meh about it, right? And that's like my internal intuition. And the more I've practiced it, the more I realize it feels like this like feeling that it locks in and this is what I'm supposed to do and I just know it, versus you've probably heard Victoria talk on the podcast about how she's an emotional authority. So her intuition actually comes through as a wave of emotions that she has to ride out until she locks into a feeling. Some people will feel things in their gut. You always hear people like, oh, I get this gut feeling and I just knew it was the right thing to do. That doesn't happen for me because that's not my style. But the more you learn about how you know you're on the right path, the more you can tap into those feelings. Obviously, your human design can help, but you can also do this exercise. I want you right now to think of a time where you made a decision and it ended up being the right decision. And think about what was that feeling that you had when you made the decision that turned out to be a really great and awesome one. And it could be something as simple as like, you were like, oh, I think I really want to go get ice cream that will cheer me up today. Like, what was that feeling? And how did you know that that was the right path? And what ended up happening when you made that decision? For me, a decision bigger than ice cream was whenever I was deciding, like, let me give you the background. I was in the middle of working my corporate 9 to 5 job. I worked so hard to get this job. This was like dream job, goals, everything I thought I ever wanted as, a corporate woman who just got out of college. I was going to grad school full time and I was like on the path to get my master's and like keep climbing that corporate ladder, become a marketing baddie at the top, all those things. And then I just ended up hating it and I was like really sad and I felt like I wasn't in alignment and I wasn't excited to work and I knew that I was meant to be doing more, but I didn't know what that more was, which is really what led me to creating all those different businesses that I mentioned earlier and trying to figure out like what was the right path. And I remember seeing stuff about life coaching and I was like, do I do life coaching? Do I not do life coaching? I kept going back and forth on if I should enroll in this certification program because it was very, very expensive. It was the most I had ever spent on anything in my entire life. And I was freaking out about it because I was like, what if I fail? What if this doesn't work out? What if everything falls apart? And that will happen, like, even as you're trying to tap into your intuition, doubts and fears. And like I said, societal programming, right? Because, my fears about making money as an entrepreneur and being successful as an entrepreneur, maybe that's not my fears, but it's something my parents told me that, it's better to get a 9 to 5 or something society told me, go to college, get a 9 to 5, have healthcare. It's easier that way, right? And so that's the noise that happens as we're trying to tap into our intuition. But I remember there was a day when I was was driving home from work, probably crying if I'm being quite honest. And all of a sudden, I felt it lock in, and I just knew I had to get this certification. I knew this was the right thing to do. And it was like, I was so scared, and I felt like it didn't make any sense at all, but it felt so right. And like, because I think I have like a mental authority in my human design, like it just like, it was immediate, like instant knowing. And it felt like, and I talked about this in a previous episode with Victoria, it felt like all the chatter in my brain of like, oh no, this is going to happen and this is going to go wrong and all those things, it just calmed. And I felt this calming feeling, and I knew it was the right thing to do. And because I had that experience and I trusted that intuition, now when other big decisions come up in my life, I can lean into that and think, okay, does this feel like that moment? For example, I've been getting these intuitive downloads, these pings, these nudges. There's all these words for these different things, these weird ideas that pop in your head that probably don't make a lot of sense, but they feel like they're calling you to do something. I've been getting this ping, this download to like shift out of being online and doing more in-person things, which looks like stop taking one-on-one clients, stop doing intuitive readings, close down different coaching programs that I have, and put my energy into doing things that connect me with humans in real life. And I felt like so afraid of doing this. And the same thing happened as whenever I was like going into life coaching in the first place. I had all this chatter. How are you going to make money? What if it doesn't work out? How are you going to get people to go to events? There's not as many people that you can get in one spot as you can get into a masterclass online. You know that, right? Like all of these projections of other people who have told me things about why online is the best and why in person isn't as great. But I know the feeling is right and this is the right thing to do, and I know how to move forward because I had that lock-in feeling where it was like, no, this is what you have to do. And like all the noise quieted, and it doesn't mean I'm not scared, and it doesn't mean I'm not worried, but it means I know this is something I have to take action on because it feels right in the way that I felt being right before about my intuition. And the weird thing about intuition is sometimes like you'll get ideas that make absolutely no sense. And if you want an easy way to like start practicing your intuition, it doesn't have to be around big ideas like I just said, like quitting your job, pivoting your entire business model, or anything like that. Like start in really, really tiny ways. For me, like tiny ways I start to listen to my intuition is those ideas that I get. Maybe one day I'm like, for example, yesterday we saw the sun for the first time in like 7 days in Boston, and I knew the sun was going to be out, and I was like, you need to go on a walk. You need to walk outside in the morning and soak up that sunshine. And that might not feel like something very significant, and nothing might happen like that changes my life because I did that. But that was me trusting my intuition that was guiding me to do something. It could be as simple as, hey, when you're driving home, all of a sudden you get this idea. You're like, maybe you go down this street instead of that street today. And it doesn't make any sense, and you don't know why you need to do that, but that is you starting to lean into your intuition. And the weird thing is like, you don't need anything to happen because of it. There might not be some grand outcome. I remember over the summer, I was really working on trusting my intuition and tapping into it after spending many years trusting other people inside of my business to make decisions for me. I really tried to practice listening to myself, and it started off in really simple ways like I just mentioned. I would go for a walk to Starbucks, I would get lunch, and I would get the download like, hey, maybe you should sit at this picnic table we just saw and eat lunch by the water. And I would do that. And nothing crazy would happen out of that, like nothing life-changing. But I started to show my subconscious that I am worth trusting and I have good decisions. And even when things don't make sense, I'm willing to bet on myself. And if you can start to bet on yourself in these really small, safe ways, all of a sudden, when you get to those bigger decisions, those life-changing decisions, listening to your intuition is a little bit easier. So we've already talked a little bit about like how you feel your intuition, and your human design can help with that, or thinking about previous experiences when you've listened to your intuition can help. But you can also use like all kinds of tools to tap into your intuition. And I'll give you an example. This morning, I woke up and I was like, I really don't want to work today. And I have been trying so hard ever since really recovering from burnout, or I guess it's a lifelong process, it feels like, to tap into my intuition when it comes to rest. And this morning I was like, oh, I just wish I could lay on the couch and I could just like have the morning off. Like I do not have the mental capacity to work. I have done so much for my business over the past 2 days. I had a really late night last night. And so I was like, I wish I could just stay on the couch. And I know I hear my like inner voice going, so do it. So just stay on the couch. And then my head being like all logical was like, no, try to get some work done. You could do something. And so I went to my desk and I have all these projects I want to work on, all these things I'm super excited about for the podcast and our merch and like all these things we have coming up, right? And so I got my tarot deck, which is a tool that you can use to trust your intuition. And I pulled a card and I was like, where should I focus my energy today? And the freaking card I pull is the 9 of Pentacles, which is like about pampering yourself and resting after hard work and enjoying the fruits of your labor because you've already worked so hard. So you should enjoy rest. And I was like, wow, like these cards are really confirming what I already know, which is that I don't need to work this morning. I've already worked really hard this week and I need to go take a nap. And I was like kind of mad about it because I'm like, ew, why is this telling me something I already know? And so I think that's what's really cool about tarot cards. Some people, like there's 2 sides to it, really, right? And I think this works whether you're spiritual or you're not spiritual and you're super logical. On the spiritual side, people can look at tarot cards and say something like, you know, like I'm connecting with my higher self. I'm connecting with my spirit guides. I'm connecting with the universe, with a higher power who has information and they're going to give me a message today. Right? Or you can look at tarot cards as an empowering tool to help you with self-reflection. And it doesn't matter which way you look at it. It just matters that you take the tool, you learn the symbols, and you prescribe it meaning to yourself. And obviously having of knowledge of like what the 9 of Pentacles means can help, but you are the one who gives that message a meaning. And I think it has been, for me, such an incredible tool to tap into my intuition, because when I literally will just make a list of questions I have about what's going on in my life, I'll pull cards and then all of a sudden I can start to process better what is going on in my head because I have these cards to kind of help guide me. So if you haven't gotten into tarot, I would highly recommend it. Last night I had a group coaching session with some of my clients and they were like, pull out the tarot cards, pull out the tarot cards. We did a tarot card reading for everyone. And again, in the same way that this morning it was like confirmed things I already knew, but I didn't really give myself full permission to believe. It did that for my clients. Even some of my clients they were like asking questions about what they should do next and what opportunities they were missing. And all their cards were like, you need to trust yourself. You need to trust your intuition. Stop asking these cards. You already know what to do. And I was like, I hate readings like that. They're so annoying, but they all always give you exactly the information that you need. And there's other tools too that you can use to lean into your intuition. Tarot can be one, journaling can be one, just like free journaling. Let whatever thoughts come out of your head come out. I saw a TikTok recently that was like, imagine if when you were journaling, you weren't writing to someone else, but you were just writing for yourself. And I think a lot of times people journal in that way where they're like, dear diary, today I did this. And you're like writing to someone. Personally, my journals are pure chaos. It's free flow writing. It doesn't make sense to anyone but me. I give myself a lot of permission, and maybe it's like because I have ADHD, this permission helps, but I give myself a lot of permission for me to write exactly what's happening in my brain without it to making sense, without it being logical. If my thought changes in the middle of a sentence, I'm going to start writing about the thing and just allow my thoughts to flow. And even that, like allowing your thoughts to just flow and wander and scribble on the page, things coming to your mind can help you tap into your intuition and your different ideas that you're having. And that's a place where you can get those downloads. Meditation is also a really awesome way if you can start practicing that, of like allowing ideas to come to you. If you're like, how do I get the ideas from my intuition? How do I know what I'm supposed to be doing? Like you actually have to have 2 things happen. You have to be rested enough for those ideas to come, and you have to be in a place where you're able to receive those. So if you're constantly consuming, scrolling on TikTok, watching TV, trying to fill your mind with things, it's really hard to allow your brain space to let your intuition ring in and say, hey, you should do this right now, or hey, you should focus on this right now. But if you practice that, it can help you out a lot. The other tool that I think is really helpful with tapping into your intuition is understanding your core values. Like, what are the things you value? What are the things that make you happy? Because the more you can tap into those things, the easier it is to make decisions in your life and know if you're on the right path when you're having a hard time tapping into your intuition. So for example, the other day I was like, I had a lot of free time in my day and I didn't want to fill it with work, but I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to fill my free time with. But I knew some of my core values or some of the things that like bring me so much joy in my life are freedom, spirituality, and personal development, like luxury or feeling comfy or cozy or having experiences like that, and community and connection. And so if I'm thinking of like, I could either one, sit and like wait for my intuition to give me information, whether that's in meditation or through journaling, or I could think like, okay, well, I already know I have these core values. What of these things can I use to fill my time? Can I do something that's going to be luxurious and feel like an experience and comfy and cozy and make maybe a really nice meal? Can I do something that's going to connect with people? Maybe like FaceTime a friend or, go out to eat or something like that. And so in those moments where you don't have immediate access to your intuition, you can start to use those core values to help guide you. The other thing I'll say too is like when you're starting to learn how to listen to the voice inside of your head and trust yourself as you make decisions, you might not always have the answer right away. And it's hard because you can't really like force your intuition to tell you what to do. Like there have been times where, me and Victoria are working on a project and we desperately want to know the answer of what this project will be. What do we need to put in this offer or this program or this product? How are we going to sell it? Like we have all these questions and they don't land immediately because there's more that we need to simmer and think about and wait for and get more information before we can act on it. And that's totally okay. In those moments, you just have to keep on keeping on because eventually your intuition will tell you what to do. You will get those good ideas, when you're giving yourself space in those meditations and journaling and looking for different signs and symbols that you're on the right path. All of that is going to help you tap into your intuition. Again, you just have to give yourself the space to listen. I will say like one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life is learning how to trust myself, especially as someone, like I said, who used to very much conform to what everyone else was doing and look to others for answers because I was afraid of failing or afraid of getting it wrong or afraid of looking stupid. And there's a lot of internal work that has to go on to trust that you're worth trusting. And that's totally okay. But the sooner that you start to listen to yourself in small ways and trust that you have all the answers you need, the better off you'll be. And like, if I could tell you anything today, it would be like you already have all the answers you need within you. And I think that's also like one of the reasons why I'm starting to shift away from like online coaching and more to in-person experiences is because, a lot of times in the online space with how online coaching works, really the client is supposed to be the expert, but a lot of times clients hire coaches to tell them what to do. And when I work with people, like I don't want to tell you what to do. I want you to tap in and you to guide yourself through questions maybe I ask or insightful things like that because you have everything you need within you. You really, really do. And all I can ask is that you start to trust yourself a little bit more in whatever way that looks like for you this week, because you're worthy of leaning on yourself. And, one of the things for me that I've always been afraid of since I was little is like being alone or feeling alone. And I think that's probably part of the reason why I always tried to lean on other people for the answers. But within yourself, you are never alone. And sometimes it can feel like we're the singular being and we're by ourselves, but you got like all the answers, all the ideas inside of your head. So you're never alone. You're never alone. You're never lost without resources. And sometimes it just takes tuning in to what's going on inside of your head so that way you can trust yourself to getting the right answer. You'll have to connect with me on social media and let me know what you think about intuition, how you tap into your intuition, and all of those things that you're feeling after listening to this episode. I highly recommend getting a tarot card deck or an oracle deck. The very first oracle card deck I ever got, it was like an angel card deck, and I'll probably link it in the show notes for you because it was so easy to read. Like it was very clear. I think like the traditional tarot card deck with like the Knight of Swords and all those things can be difficult, but there's much easier ones to start with. So I will recommend that in the link down below if I can find it. I don't know if they print the first one I ever got anymore, but if I find it, I'll link it down for you below. And if you want more insight and help tapping into your intuition or learning about it, follow my blog. I try to blog once a week about my intuition. It's called Intuitive Confidential. I have like a membership where I post private journal entries, but then I also just have the intuitive blog where I give you all the insight on how I'm practicing trusting my intuition, times I don't want to listen to it, practices I use, meditations I use to really follow the voice inside of me so I don't have to lean on anyone else. Because how cool is it that we can live in a world where we get to lead the way and create our own path and do things whatever freaking way we want to do them, you know? So if you're a person who is like tired of people telling you what to do, or you've been trying it someone else's way and it hasn't been working out for you, let that be your sign that you have all the freaking answers you need, and the only person you need to trust is yourself. You just have to start giving yourself the space to allow you to trust yourself, to practice trusting yourself, and to figure out what that looks like. And you know, me and Victoria always say your life is a big science experiment. So, you know, you can try to trust your intuition today and maybe you get it wrong. Maybe you make a wrong decision. Let that be a lesson, and let that be like, okay, so that's what it felt like when I made a decision out of fear or scarcity or lack, and then think to a time where you made a decision out of confidence and intuition and trust in yourself, and let that be the guiding light. All right, I hope this helps. I have so much more coming in my mind about intuition and trusting yourself. I feel like my lifelong mission is to help the world trust themselves, so you'll hear so much more about this theme in the future. And I hope you all have an awesome week, and I will chat with you again on Thursday when our duo episode comes out. All right, bye everyone.